Hey, it's Mariana, and thank you for joining me on the Commitment to Growth podcast, a platform dedicated to helping you build resilience for lifelong momentum. We chat about healing, mindset development, and how to live in your authentic truth, because often it's not our problems that cause our dissatisfaction, but everything around them that we haven't yet addressed. Thank you for joining me today, and let's get into this week's conversation. Welcome back to the Commitment to Growth podcast, everybody. If you're new, welcome. And if you're not new, welcome back. In any case, whether you're a new or revisiting listener, that would have been your first time listening to the podcast new intro. Let's give it up. I'm so excited to finally share this with you. That wonderful piece of musical art was produced by the wonderful, the talented Eric Martinez, who is a wonderful, dear friend of mine from Mexico City, who I had the privilege of reuniting with after 15 years, folks. 15 years. And I approached him about this project that I want to take on, that I finally wanted to jazz up the podcast a little bit differently, and he was more than willing to help me out with it and created what you just heard, which I am just in love with. So Eric is the leading producer of the band Malquisto, but is also his own independent producer working with artists across various musical disciplines. So if you yourself are a creator, a podcaster, a musical artist of any kind, and you're looking for somebody to help you bring your visions to life, I highly, highly recommend giving him a shout. So with that being said, because I loved the art that he made me so dearly, I am going to leave his contact information in the show notes for you to hit him up if it's something that you're interested in for your own career. He's wonderful. He'll work with you. He'll bring your vision to life. It's fantastic. And I hope you get that chance to reach out to him. It's exciting. It's exciting stuff. I am so excited to be recording this for you today. Let me tell you where I am right now. It is about 8:35 on a Tuesday morning, and I am sitting here with my cup of coffee in my Airbnb in Los Angeles, and in a few hours I will be getting up and out of here to go to the Podcast Movement 2024 annual conference here in Los Angeles. For those of you that don't know, and if you haven't seen me posting it on my social media channels, this is a conference, an annual event that happens for people in the podcasting industry to just get a series of immersive trainings to level up their game in their craft. And if you had told me a year ago that I would be sitting here doing this, I think I would have laughed at you. What a full circle moment. I'm here after, this is week 8 of my spontaneous, I dropped everything to do this travels, which is everything that this podcast episode is about today. And to think that I get to share this moment with you, and to think that this moment is representative of just the heart and soul that has gone into this work, but also the support that you've shown me, I just want to give such a sincere and heartfelt thank you, because this work and this community and this platform would not be what it is without you. And everything that I continue to invest my time, my energy, money, learning into is in order to bring the best of me and the best of my knowledge and my wisdom and my service to this platform. And this is just another one of those things. So I am just ecstatic to be kicking off today with you. And it just felt like the perfect day to share this with you and talk about it with you. You can see I'm already stumbling over my words because I'm so excited. But alas, this episode is about how and why the heck I dropped everything in my life to travel for 2 months, and everything that I learned along the way. Of course, it is understandable that dropping everything to travel for 2 months is not something that is feasible for everybody. That might include you, but this isn't so much about how to do the same thing and expect the same results, but rather how you can change your perspective, your approach to life in a way that makes you feel like you are leveling up, that you are doing uncomfortable things, that the things that you are doing in discomfort are transitioning you into the person that you want to become. And I have such good tidbits of life advice for you today, and a really, really cool exercise that I think is just going to absolutely transform your world. So stick around if you want to hear it, because it's a powerful one, and you're going to want to do it either immediately after we finish this episode or anytime after, as soon as you can, because it's a game changer. So let's start with a little bit of a backstory into how the heck this happened, into how the heck I ended up dropping everything to travel for 2 months and literally leaving everything behind. So I had reached a point in my life right before traveling where I was doing really, really wonderful things with commitment to growth, and continue to be doing that in my coaching business. But that was the only area of my life that I felt like I was leveling up in. I was walking the same streets, feeling the same things, repeating the same habits, the same cycles, and I was done. I knew something had to change. I was at a point in my life where I was like, I haven't done anything. It doesn't feel like I've done anything big in some time, aside from, again, the work that I've been doing with Committed Growth. And in November, my best friend and I, Amy, who she's been on the podcast before, by the way, if you hadn't seen my or listened to my episode with her and Emma, I highly, highly recommend it. It's a few episodes back. And we had booked a trip to go to South America, particularly Chile and Argentina, for 2 weeks. And you might be thinking, that isn't a long time. And it's because at that time I was like, well, I can't miss work for more than 2 weeks because at the time, right before I left for traveling, I was working at a clinic in Vancouver. But I had also run into a series of dissonances and discrepancies within myself, because I was pouring so much of my heart and soul into commitment to growth that I just wasn't feeling any inspiration to go to work anymore. I was dreading going to work in the mornings. I didn't feel like I was growing professionally anymore. And I decided, well, I could travel for 2 weeks, or I could have that be the finish line of that particular career path and the starting line of another one that I want to create for myself. Now, that came with a ton of fear. Oh my gosh, my paycheck every 2 weeks. What am I going to do? Where's my income going to come from? I can't travel for more than 2 weeks. Like, where am I going to go? Who am I going to stay with? The cost of everything. Na. And right before you set out to embark on a journey of great big personal transition, your mind will give you every excuse for why you shouldn't. Because all of a sudden you are exposing the things that keep you feeling safe and grounded and rooted where you are. But if one thing I've learned among many, many, many on this journey is that certainty is a false illusion. Certainty is something that we tell ourselves to give us a sense of control over our lives, over our choices. But in reality, the most certain thing that we have is that we can be adaptable. We can be malleable. We can be innovative. It's of the greatest qualities known to the human race. So when all those fears started coming up, I said, you know what? Instead of taking those fears as a reason not to go, I'm going to take those fears as every reason to hand in that letter of resignation. And I did. I handed that letter about a couple weeks after we booked our travels. And instead of booking a ticket from Argentina back to Vancouver, I booked a ticket from Argentina to Mexico City, which is where I was born and grew up for 6 years of my life before we moved to Vancouver. And I bought no return ticket from Mexico to Vancouver. I worked up until the day before I left for my travels. And on February 1st, I was flying to Santiago, Chile to meet Amy. And it was paralyzing. It was so scary going to a new place where I didn't know anybody, where I didn't know the transit system, where I didn't know what the people were like, what the safety was like. Everything you could imagine. It was coming up on the plane on the days leading up to it. I couldn't sleep the night before. And here's what happened. We had a beautiful time in Santiago, Chile. We saw just like the most beautiful street art. We then took a bus to Viña del Mar, which is another city on the coast, and we surfed all day for 2 days. We took a bus from there to Mendoza, Argentina for about 8-10 hours. In wine country, we rode bikes around the wineries. We went highlining with these most incredible people. We walked the city. We sat in coffee shops. And then we went to Buenos Aires and saw all the art there. We saw tango. We ate delicious Argentinian meats. We went to the second largest bookstore in the world, the Ateneo, made some incredible friends. And then I flew to Mexico City. And I was there for 5 weeks. As you are listening to this, I flew into LA from Mexico City about 2 days ago. And I rode the wave of fear for about a couple of days when I got into Chile. And into Argentina as well, because you're always adapting to new places, new people, new things, the language, the food, etc., etc. But I think if I could summarize this whole trip into one thesis, one core idea, one core takeaway, is that the things that block us the most from the love that life wants to give us are the projections we make in an effort to keep ourselves safe. Listen to that again. The things that stop us the most from receiving the love that life wants to give us are the projections, the expectations, the ideas that we impose onto the world around us in an effort to keep ourselves safe. Think about any time that you've gone into a new dating experience. You probably have ideas about what that person might be like based on the previous people you've dated, or what you know about people in the dating world, about how they might lie or cheat or use you, or in some capacity, as much as awful as that sounds. And because you're so afraid of the same thing happening to you, which is totally reasonable, by the way, you impose that judgment onto that person and you automatically label them as capable of. And yes, you are right. They are just as capable as you are of enacting that pain and that betrayal onto somebody. However, because your brain suddenly has this projection of the pain you might feel, instead of being in a place to accept and be open to joy, love, satisfaction, openness, vulnerability, you are blocking yourself from stepping into that energy. And what that does is it creates kind of a pseudo experience of what that person might actually be like, or it creates this pseudo reality of, I have to keep myself small. I can't be vulnerable. I can't share things about myself. I can't this, I can't that. because you perceive that by doing that, it's going to keep you safe. But what if safety is what's actually holding you back from receiving more? What if safety is just an illusion that you are creating for yourself by hiding in the mechanisms that make you feel like you're in control? Let me tell you something about fear. It's not that deep. It's not that deep. I learned that from Mel Robbins this morning as I was listening to one of her podcasts. It's not that deep. And I don't say that in a way to discredit or demean anything that you might be feeling towards an aspect of your life right now, but we give fear way more credence than we give confidence, than we give intuition, than we do to the nudges that we feel intuitively. And in life, you have the choice of allowing fear to be the one that steers your life, or you have the choice of sitting with fear, taking it by the hand, and having a conversation with it. What I mean by that is you can let fear dictate the truth about your situation, or you can sit with it for long enough to understand where it's rooted in and how getting to the root of that fear will lead to your freedom, will lead to your resolve. You can, going back to that dating example, you can choose to project those fears onto that person, but what they might be like, and then you're going to start asking questions to like reveal if they've cheated on someone, or if they secretly have another partner behind the scenes, or you can let that fear reside next to you and prove it wrong by investing your curiosity into that person, asking them about their life, their hobbies, their interests, what they like to do on a Sunday morning, what they like to do in their free time. You strip yourself of the chance to open the doors that life wants you to open when you let fear give you a certain truth about the situation that you're in. And in that is our healing. And in that is our capacity to level up. And here's another really cool thing about healing our fears. When you heal a certain fear in one aspect of your life, say you don't consider yourself a confident person, you're super duper afraid of public speaking. And because of that, you go into a public speaking course so that you can public speak to your team of employees or your classmates or your workmates, whatever it looks like, and you do it. Guess what? That fear isn't selective to public speaking in front of your work team. That fear that can building your confidence up in the midst of that fear translates into other areas of your life. It'll translate into going to the dating world. It'll translate into setting boundaries with your friends, with your family. It'll translate into asking for what you want at work from your boss or your workmates, right? Dissolving fear in one area of your life automatically gives you the tools and the strength and the resilience to dissolve fears in other areas of your life. As I was in South America just freaking out about money and the fact that I was spending without a guaranteed return on the money that I was spending, as I was freaking out about being there with only my best friend, not knowing anybody else, freaking out about transiting and getting transportation to places, I was looking my fears dead in the face around loneliness, around money, around everything that I didn't know was so deeply rooted under my surface. But you do the things anyways. You public transit. You buy yourself a meal because you have to eat. You buy yourself a little souvenir because you want a little piece of memorabilia to take with you. And let me tell you what started happening. As I was standing beside my fears and just walking with them and just taking them by the hand and showing them that it really wasn't all that bad, it really wasn't all that scary, things started to happen in my outer world. I was open doors to things, to new people we met that I'm still in contact with, to hidden gems, to people that were going to help me along my business journey, because all of a sudden my career was solely commitment to growth. So when people were asking, "Oh, what do you do with your work?" or "What do you do for work?" I was telling them that this is my full-time gig now, and people started to lend a helping hand. You need new headshots? No problem. My cousin's a professional photographer. You need new intro music? No problem. This friend who came back into your life after 15 years, a music producer. You want to get a tattoo? Because I got a tattoo while I was down there. No problem. A cousin of a cousin does tattoos and will give it to you at a discounted rate. No problem. No problem, Life said. Why? Because you dared take the step forward. You dared to open yourself up to the possibility. You dared to act courageously in the face of fear. You dared to believe. You dared to believe that you could create more for yourself. And even while being in Mexico City, let me tell you, I hosted a women's circle. Sorry for the quick interruption. Just want to remind you that in case you haven't seen on my social media channels, I currently have a free 30-minute masterclass out for you to have access to called Welcome to Your Evolution. If you've ever been curious about the neuroscience of personal transformation, why personal growth can feel so hard, and how to get past that friction of transitioning your habits, your lifestyle changes, your mindset, your limiting beliefs, this masterclass is exactly why personal growth can feel so hard at first, but how to leverage the information around how it occurs in your internal body to skyrocket your progress into becoming the person that you want to become. This is a super critical part of personal growth that really isn't talked about, the neuroscience part of it. And once you understand it, it will give you so much insight into how change happens, why it happens, and how to work with your brain, really, to induce the changes that you want to see. So if this is something that you are interested in, I highly, highly recommend it. It's 30 minutes, so you have no excuses. Go to www.commitmentogrowth.com/evolution. It'll also be in the show notes for you to click and get access to. You input your email and you get an email from me with an access code to the masterclass, as well as a follow along workbook for you to do after the class. Because speaking of neuroscience, the way that you solidify the things that you learn is by acting on them right away instead of leaving them as floating thoughts in your brain. So once again, head to www.commitmentogrowth.com/evolution, scroll to the middle of the page, put in your email, and get lifetime access to this wonderful, wonderful learning opportunity. That's it for now. And now back to the episode. I hosted a women's circle in Mexico. Now, of course, I say that with the privilege that I speak the language in Mexico, right? I still speak Spanish. Parents never let us forget it. But that was a really eye-opening experience because it showed me that we truly are so innovative and adaptable as human beings, and it is one of our best qualities that once we know how to leverage, also guarantees us the life that we want. Because in our choice to leverage our innovation, our creativity, is our open door, is the door that we create actually into the things that we desire. realizing that I had the freedom to do with my business what I wanted and to show up in new spaces in service, in a heart of wanting to meet people, in a heart of wanting to connect with people, in a heart of wanting to connect people with other people. It was amazing. And another door that opened to that, a girlfriend of a cousin of mine offered to give me a hand. She was like, no problem, I'll help you get people together. She even gave me a ton of business advice with her own background experience. Another hand that the universe put into my life to reaffirm that the leaps I was taking, the way I was walking with my fear versus walking behind it, it was worth it. It was what I was meant to be doing. And just being cognizant of the ways in which the universe was stretching out its hand for me to take what it was offering me was so insane and such an affirmation that, wow, like when you take the leap, you will be rewarded. You will be given things and little affirmation points along your journey to reassure you that you're doing the right thing by doing the courageous thing, not the safe thing. Let me tell you what else happened on a really personal level, going back to this idea of the things that hinder us the most are the projections we make into the world. I felt my confidence grow. I felt myself being in a place to give more. I was attending tons of family dinners and going out with friends. I was adopted into a new friend group that I could never in a million years have fathomed landing in the heart and in the hands of like such beautiful people. I made a really beautiful connection with someone. I brought women together who are now getting together on their own time after our women's circle because they enjoyed the experience so much and found it so healing. I learned so much about letting go and being open to the love that life wants to give me. And I think that's another thing that we can all take away from when we surrender our expectations about the kind of life that we think is best for us, the kind of life that we think is safest and speediest and most productive, which is the mindset that I was in before this trip. We place ourselves in a spot to receive a better alternative, to receive the things that are going to reroute our path towards the things that will truly make us happy, because I think sometimes we forget what those things are. We lose sight of what those things are because we're so immersed in the expectations of society, of other people, our parents, our partners, our friends. And it's easy to lose ourselves in that rat race. It's easy to lose ourselves in what we see or what we perceive as making everybody else happy, but in reality might not be what fulfills us, because we are all different people, because we are all here to fulfill a different mission. And because of that, that is why it's our responsibility to cultivate our self-awareness. But also at a deeper level, that's why it's our responsibility to cultivate our awareness, to observe how the things in our life are playing out in such a way to reveal our inner reality. Before going on this trip, I have wonderful friendships. I have a wonderful family. I have a beautiful home. I live in a beautiful place. But because I was repeating the same cycles, the same bad habits, the same just unproductive ways of living, because I didn't know anything else at the time. I was attracting more of that frustration and that like stagnancy into my life. And all of a sudden, you cut the cord, you place yourself in the heart of your fear, and you're reminded of who you are, why you do what you do, why you've built the ladder to get up to the places where you are, where you've been. And the same goes for you if you are in a place in your life where you are stagnant, where you feel like you're attracting toxic things, toxic people into your life. It's time to look at the things in your life that you're holding onto subconsciously because you think that they are guaranteeing you a certain way of life, or because you think that it's what's safe. I go back to the phrase that you've probably heard me say on this podcast time and time again. Just because something feels familiar does not mean that it has to be your normal. Just because something feels familiar does not mean that it has to be your normal. We talk about that in that 30-minute masterclass that I just spoke to you about a few minutes ago. The ways in which our brain adapts to a constant stimulus can make it feel familiar and therefore something that's safe because it's something that we've become habituated to. But just because it's something that feels habitual doesn't mean it's serving us. It's like when you go back to smoking or to alcohol, or when you continue to go back to your ex-partner. You might know at a conscious level that those things aren't serving you. But because your brain and your subconscious are so used to the feelings that you get from those substances, from that person, it's way easier to stay in what you know than it is to adapt to the waves of change, than it is to make the choices to expose yourself to new things, to new people, to new opportunities, to new places. But the beautiful things about human beings is that we're adaptable. We can break old ways. We can open ourselves up to new energies, but that involves detoxing ourselves from the expectations that we've placed upon ourselves to live life a certain way, to fulfill a certain timeline, to achieve certain things that we perceive are going to make us happy. We talk about this a lot in the masterclass, and we go back into like way deeper into the neuroscience of this phenomenon. So I highly recommend that you go check it out. But I want you to do something really, really powerful here for a moment. If you have a journal close to you, pause this and go get it, or make a note of the instructions that I'm about to give you for this exercise, because it's going to change you at a fundamental level. It's going to open you up to new and beautiful, beautiful things. So you have a journal near you, get it out right now. What I want you to do is you're going to make a T-chart. On the left-hand side of that T-chart, you are going to write down all of the things that you feel are constants in your life that make you feel safe. That paycheck, your house, your car, your relationship, micromanaging things, scheduling things out, choosing working over traveling, whatever it might be. Write down the things that make you feel like you're in control of your life, like life has stability. Make that list as long as it needs to be. Just mind dump. Just write down whatever comes to mind. All the things that make you feel like you're stable. And then on the right-hand side of that chart, you are going to write down all of the things that you want to open yourself up to receiving more of. Love, compassion from yourself or others, abundance, wealth, health, forgiveness, everything that you want to open yourself up to receiving more of from life. Write that down on the right side of your T chart there. And then, once you have your list on both sides of your T chart, you're going to go back into the left-hand side of your T chart and you're going to cross out all of the things that you perceive as hindering you from receiving the things that you want on the right side of your list. If you want to receive more love from your partner, could you let go of neglecting vulnerability, of hiding yourself away? If you want to receive a raise from your boss, could you cross out the idea that by not bringing up complaints or keeping the peace with your boss, by not offering feedback, could you let those things go and have that be the open door to more honest conversations, to a more meaningful relationship with your superior? If you want to feel more confident, could you make the choice to go and travel and stop holding on to the things at home that make you feel like you're stuck, like you're repeating the same cycles? Could you go and do something really physically challenging to build your confidence, to remind you of your capabilities, to see beyond your limits? What things are creating a false perception of safety for you in a way that is actually blocking you from receiving what life wants to give you? Because it's only when you become aware of those things that do you then put yourself in a place of recognizing them when they arise, and therefore you place yourself in an altered state of consciousness to then notice when life is giving you the opportunities to open yourself up to the things that you desire and leave the ones that you don't desire anymore behind. That's the key here. When you become conscious of your own blocks, you're able to surmount their walls better when you feel them creep up, when you notice yourself acting from those places of fear. I promise you that the things that you fear, pain, loss, heartbreak, grief, they're only projections that you're making about who's going to cause those things in your life for you, what situations are going to cause those feelings in your life for you. They are projections until you hold those fears by the hand and show them that no matter what, you can pick yourself up when they try to knock you down. As cheesy as that sounds, confidence comes from competence. And you have to remember who you are. You have to remember where your strength lies. You have to learn what things give you strength. You have to learn what things help you stand up. Leverage your innovation, leverage your inspiration, leverage your passions. You get to decide who you become in the moments where you feel like you're going in circles, in the moments where you feel like you're staying the same, in the moments where you feel like life is ripping the rug out from underneath you. If this is you right now, keep your head up and look up for a moment to notice how life is perhaps placing the solutions to your shortcomings in front of you right now. Are you being given a new job opportunity? Is there somebody in your life who's really interested in you and wants to take you on a date, and they're actually a really nice person, but you're so held on to the idea of somebody else or your ex-partner to see the ways in which they're trying to give you love. Is life giving you the opportunities to have open, honest conversations with your family members? Is there a gym really close to your new home that you can start going to improve your health in some capacity? Did somebody gift you a book recently on medicine or cold plunging or personal growth or finances? There is always, always, always an open door waiting for you. The choice is in seeing that you're the one that gets to open it when you choose. Because life always wants you to. It's about you seeing how life is giving you its hand in the things in your life. And with that, I'm going to leave you with that to think about for this week. Thank you so much for joining me today, everybody. It was such a pleasure, as always. If this resonated with you, make sure to share it with a friend who you think might need to hear it as well. Don't forget to do that exercise. If you like it, if it resonates something within you, let me know. Shoot me a DM on Instagram @CommitToGrowth and let me know what you thought. Or if you have future episode ideas or questions that you have, DM me on that same account as well. You can also find the link to DM me through that account in the episode show notes, or subscribe. That'd be fantastic too, so that you can hear updates on future podcast episodes, get in on all the latest information. I have some super, super exciting guest interviews coming up in the next few months. Some really exciting projects going to be taking place here after this wonderful event that I'm going to be attending in a few hours here. So make sure to save, subscribe, like the show, send it to somebody who needs to hear it. And as always, a pleasure and privilege to be here with you. And I'll see you in the next episode.